Good morning, friends. Not anticipating this to be super long, but just a couple things that came to mind this morning in my reading. Reading John 11 still, which is an awesome chapter about Jesus raising Lazarus. And it just has so much about showing Jesus' emotion, his humanness, his friendships, the honesty that his friends could approach him with, when life doesn't seem to make sense, and not sometimes even trying to find meaning in things, just trusting God. But then it shows and how God used that miracle to bring many people to faith in him, who otherwise may not have believed. So super cool. But then the little section that I'm starting with now says, first there are many, therefore, because of what just happened, many of the Jews who had come to visit Mary and had seen what Jesus did. And again, I think that's part of why the time had to pass, so that people could get there too and everyone be assembled to watch this miracle. Many of them put their faith in him. It changed their hearts. But then the very next verse says, but some of them went to the Pharisees and told them what Jesus had done. They couldn't see that miracle and celebrate it. They couldn't let that lead them to saying, this is amazing. This is someone who's bringing life out of death, who loves. They always put a spin on it, like it's dangerous and something to be feared. And so they went and tattled to the Pharisees, and then the Pharisees had this meeting, and it was all about fear and a fear focus, and saying, instead of again just recognizing maybe we're wrong, maybe this is a guy to love and to listen to and to not approach and view with fear. Understand skepticism, that you want to be able to have things proven, but they got that proof with this miracle now, and instead they're turning to it and saying, we need to get rid of him. He's challenging the way we've always taught. He's dangerous to us. They started to look into the future negatively without any real reason for it. And the Romans are going to take away our nation. I mean, they made this huge over one person that they knew was very powerful. And so a couple of quotes here that I liked. When men lose their piety, they lose their courage. And this comes from the Bible Gateway correspondence with Matthew Henry, or commentary. If you look it up on Bible Gateway. When men lose their piety, they lose their courage. Sort of why? Because deep down inside, they know we haven't been doing right. So there's that guilt and there's that fear, and it gets in the way of focusing on faith and God being with them. I think back of their minds, they know God's not with us in our path. We're going to keep going on it, but we're going to have to try to run away from God. We're going to have to try to cover up our path. We're going to have to be stronger than God, really, which is never going to work. So here was another quote. Pretended fears are often the color of malicious designs. So your pretended fear means you put in your head something that isn't even worth being afraid of. But then you again have to kind of come up with a plan to ward it off or to run away from it. A malicious design, not a design from God. Because with honesty and truth, we have him on our side, and we don't have to be sneaky or manipulative or cunning. So it says, with calamity happens when we try to escape with a sin, that using a sin, whether it be a lie or a substance to run away from something or whatever, we're trying to escape that sin, not to escape doing it, but to escape sort of the truth of it. And then it says we're going to take the most effectual course to bring that calamity on our own heads. So trying to run away from the consequence of that sin, and in running away from it with the sin, by the sin, we're going to bring that calamity actually to us. And then this man Caiaphas speaks up, which I didn't get to that whole section. I'll do some of that reading tomorrow, but the words he says God turns them around. And so Caiaphas is saying, yep, one man should die so that our nation can live. But it's really the truth of what Jesus did. He died so that all of us can live. So it was just so true and poignant, but yet he didn't mean it that way. But God's like, I can take anything and turn it into something that will serve my purposes, including Lazarus' death. So finally, in the devotion for today, Bible Gateway, like under devotions, February 24th, it talked about a phrase, plenteous grace or abundant grace. I don't have the actual verse. I should have written it down. But how God showers our world with abundant grace for his people. And it was very cool thought. You know, I've always been looking lately at the thought of God being not a stingy God, but a really generous God. And it's such an awesome model, and it's so comforting to know he doesn't just give us just enough, but that he loves to spoil us, to rain down his grace in ways that we wouldn't even expect. And so I think of like the feeding of the 5,000, when out of 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, not only did he feed everyone, but there were 7 baskets full left over. How when they were in the desert, God gave the Israelites enough manna or food to just keep on making them full and able to have the strength and health to do what they needed to do every day. So we say, give us this day our daily bread. We realize we have more than probably just some bread. It's that God showered us with abundant grace and plenteous grace and blessings. So, and there's just the phrase that this plenteous grace or this abundant grace keeps us humble. Because we realize, wow, that was even more than I expected of God, more than I could do on my own. Prayerful. So we want to keep talking to God and thanking him for it, and asking him again, recognizing all that we have comes from him. Holy, zealous, it preserves us, it saves us. It's his grace that saves us. Just some cool little quotes. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful week. Hopefully I'll video again soon. Love y'all. Bye-bye.